What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Here's another game that I can play with a messed up wrist. This is Kerbal Space Program, and those of you that know the game will say, hey, this is the free version, why don't you pay for it? And the answer is, I have, but they haven't sent me my product key yet, or whatever it is that they're supposed to be emailing me. All I know is that I'm waiting, and their website barely loads right now. And I should have bought it before I meant to record it. I've played a little bit of this game. It's actually pretty difficult. I guess it depends on what your actual goal is, because the game doesn't give you an out-and-out goal. I've gotten into space many times. That is the first and most obvious goal. But it's also possible to land on the moon. It's possible to... I think it's possible to land on the moon and even come back. I know it is in the new version that was just released that I really wanted to purchase. But I can't. I don't know for a fact that it's possible in this older version. It should be, presumably. Unlike a lot of my other playthroughs, I'm just gonna go ahead and go, because I know, well, I assume that it's kind of boring hearing me talk about the game and just sit on the title screen, which is what I tend to do far too often. So I'm building a ship here, and this is not going to be the best ship. I have built better. I could just load them in, but I wanted to build it on camera. Around the outer edges, I have solid fuel rockets, which seem to provide more thrust, but they have some downfalls as well. That is really loud. I can do mixing after the fact to make it to where it's not super loud in your ears, but it is super loud in my ears. Oh my goodness. So, most of this game you actually don't press that many keys. Really, for the most part, I think this changes if you manage to get to space, but for the most part you're just pressing space, the space bar, to go in between the different phases. And over here on the left, these are the phases. I've already gone through some of them and they've fallen off the end, but when we go back to build a rocket again, then I can show you guys what all the phases are. I think it'll probably be more interesting to look at the phases and exactly how we're building a spaceship after you've seen one. This one's going to run out of fuel fairly soon, and we can switch to the map view. Oh, and it immediately gets quieter. This is the path of my rocket. Right now, what is that sound? That's weird. Right now it's just going to crash into the sea. And I could change the way it's pointed and try and fix that, but we're just doing a little sample here. You can see my fuel's about to run out on this phase. And then this is a decoupler. And I can press space and it will go to this phase here. Just like that. And it decouples. And now I'm just a little guy floating out here. And this is the path that my little guy will take. Let's speed it up. He goes up. I think that's as fast as I can go. He goes up, he reaches the top of his arc, and then he's going to come back down. And right now it's actually looking like I might crash land on the ground, and that's not good. Switch back to normal view. And we're actually going to switch to the... not quite yet. We're going to slow time down a little bit. Or we will in a bit. At about 10,000 feet, I'm going to open the parachute. I don't know if that's the right place to open it. I just went down to phase 0. I didn't add a parachute here, so we're just going to crash land. I guess this is my epic fail for this episode 1. Normally they're much bigger fails than this, but I have to have some sort of fail in episode 1. So let's watch it crash. It's moving at 100 meters a second. It actually is slowing down, but 100 meters a second is still going to do that. Yeah, all of my Kerbals down here, they're all dead. Alright. So what was this spaceship I built? In the center, I have the command module. It's a command module. This is where my little astronauts are. And then underneath that, I have the SAS. It's SAS, correct? Where are you? Yes, SAS. I don't know what that stands for, but it helps me keep pointed in the same direction. And then underneath that, I have a decoupler. The decouplers are important because any time that you need to split off a piece of the rocket, you have to have some sort of decoupler there to actually define the point where you split off. Then underneath that decoupler, I have 2 liquid fuel tanks, which are these things. These hold fuel for liquid rockets, and these are the liquid rockets, or the fuel engines, rather. I honestly don't know what the big difference is between these two. I mean, it has stats there. The maximum thrust is a little bit different, and the burn rate's a little bit different. One of them's thrust vectoring, and the other one's not. I tend to just use this one. Has a bigger thrust, but it burns fuel faster. I don't know. So, this engine will use fuel from these two. Now, this thing is nice. It allows me to put on multiple at the same time. Defaults to here. I usually do 3. These are radial decouplers. They decouple side by side. So I'll put those on. I now have 3 of them. And then I put on solid fuel rockets. Solid fuel rockets have negatives. You can't turn them off. I think that I'm getting the impression that they overheat if you actually make it out into space. I'm not 100% sure of that. It's just something I've noticed kind of happening. Yeah. But they do tend to provide a lot of lift right off the ground to actually get off the ground. Another negative is you can't add more fuel onto here. At least as far as I know, you can't. And that kind of sucks. So, this is basically the rocket I had before. So the first phase, starting from the bottom, is turn on these solid fuel rockets. And then we hit spacebar, and it triggers the decoupler so the solid fuel rockets fall off. Then we hit spacebar again, and it turns on the fuel tanks and the liquid rocket. Hit space again, and it turns on this decoupler so that the top just floats around. And that is basically the super duper basic how to build a ship. Not a very good ship. I think starting slow is the one where I started off super simple, and then oh my god, what did I do? Well, I honestly don't remember building this monstrosity, but let's launch it. Let's see how it goes. So it's on the launch pad, and the way I do it, and the way I've seen other YouTube people do it, but they don't tend to talk about it, is first you hit T, and that turns on SAS. And then you have to hit Shift. See, right here is my throttle. And it starts off at like 50% or so. You hit Shift and bring it all the way up to 100. Then you hit space to go. And that's really, really loud in my ears again. Hopefully I remember to turn it down for you. Now the one thing to notice about this one is I have a lot of liquid fuel rockets that are actually providing the liftoff. And they all have multiple tanks. And you see this fuel depleting. This takes a little while to realize, but there's also this fuel tank here. Oh, my engines are starting to overheat. There's also these fuel tanks here. It looks like 24 of them. So when these run out, the rockets actually won't turn off. They'll just go to these other tanks. It makes it a little bit harder to try and figure out when to actually hit the button to go to the next phase, because, well, you can't just watch that one gauge. So it'll run out here in just a second, and I get more gauges. So now these are dark because these are depleted. So it's depleting 8 at a time. It's got 8 more, and it's got 16 here. So we've got quite a ways to go before these fuel tanks run out. And then it looks like my next phase is radial decouplers. So if I'm guessing correctly, these weird wing things will fall off, and it will just be the center. And then I'll turn on, oh goodness, is that solid? Did I put solid fuel rockets in the middle? This is one messed up ship. I do not build them like this anymore. Oh boy. How is this gonna work? Maybe this will be the epic fail of the episode. I don't know. Let's go to the map view. That will also give me a chance to let my ears stop bleeding. Alright, so we're not getting that far out. But since we've got a while until our fuel tanks run out, let's go ahead and speed up time. Okay, it looks like we only have one more set of fuel left. And we are almost 50,000 meters in the air. You hit the darkness of space at around 10,000, and I've heard it's possible to do an orbit at 10,000. The more frequently cited number is 100,000, but we're not going for an orbit. No, orbit's too easy. We're going for, should we do the moon? Let's try and hit the moon. This is gonna be a really, really horrible fail. Oh my goodness, I'm tipping. Why am I tipping? Why? And then let's turn on my... SAS was on. It is completely unable to keep me. What the hell just happened? Looks like I'm still going up, but I'm pointed at the ground. So if this circle gets big enough... No, I'm not pointing at the ground, I'm pointing that way. I may have just lucked out into an orbit. If this circle gets big enough, then it'll be in orbit. And then, yeah, I have no more anything. And it's not quite going to be in orbit. I'm going to crash land over there. Oh, that's horrible. What did I do? Well, I can speed up now. Oh, crap, I'm gonna... Okay. I'm going the other direction. So there's restrictions for how fast you can go, as far as the speeding time up. See, it just knocked me down to 50x. Now knocked me down to 10x. So you can make it go as fast as possible, and then know that as you're falling to Earth, it will slow you down, so you won't miss your chance to deploy your parachute. I do actually have a parachute on this one. That's good. See, the parachute's right there. So I think I'm going to do what I said I was going to do last time. and deploy my parachute at 10,000 feet and see if it can slow me down. I'm moving really, really fast, but I'm also slowing down. Okay, 10,000 is close enough. So the parachute will start in this like really elongated shape, and that doesn't do a lot to slow me down, although it kind of is. If it starts working real good, it'll look at a more classic parachute shape, and maybe my guys will survive. Let's see. Oh, I'm still moving pretty fast. I've seen them die at 16 meters a second, so the fact I'm still at 100 is... Oh, come on. Yeah, more normal parachute. Oh, I'm gonna die. Ah, failure again. Well, I'm not actually that surprised. This is a horrible, horrible looking ship. But I am kind of surprised that it went that bad. Oh, I do have 4. I normally do 3-way symmetry. This is a 4-way symmetry. Let's load some of my other ships and see what those are like. Well, ridiculous sounds good. What's that like? Is it up? Oh, okay, it's up here. Oh my god, that's nothing but solid. Oh. Oh. This looks good. Let's go. I think that's the tallest ship I've ever made. So T for SAS. Crank up the throttle. That's what it's called. And let's go. A trick I did on this one is the next phase both does the decoupler and it starts the next rocket, so I don't have to hit it twice. There's a lot of wiggling in my my rockets down here. That's fine though. I mean, it's okay if your rocket dances a little bit. I could tie it together. In the last ship you saw, there were a bunch of rods like connecting things together. Those are for stability. I could have used those here. If I were serious about this ship, I would, but I have a feeling the name is very indicative of my mindset when I was building this. I just wanted to make something ridiculous, and like 400 solid fuel rockets really fit the bill. Oh, I was kind of late hitting space there. The solid fuel rockets don't last very long, but they provide a hell of a lot of thrust, and I think I needed them in order to get something this big off the ground. And when I hit the liquid rockets here in a second, they're going to have a crap ton of fuel, and that's good. Yep, just one tiny little rocket, but it has fuel for days. Alright, let's see what we're looking at here. And we may actually turn it and try and get a real orbit this time. I didn't get very far with the solid fuel rockets, but they helped me get up here with a lot of fuel. So let's go back to the normal view, and I'm going to take SAS off. And when I do that, then I will get control with the W, A, S, and D keys. And actually I think Q and E as well, but I don't use those because they scare me. And I'm going to point it a little bit to try and get this orbit thing going. So no SAS. Point that way. And then turn SAS back on. And it will actually try and keep it pointed in the same direction it was in when it gets turned on. So now I'm headed not only up, but also towards the horizon. And that should have changed the shape of my little parabola here. And instead of going up a lot more, it'll go out a lot more. And that should help us get into stable orbit. Now the nice thing about the way I have this set up here, all of these tanks are tied together with fuel pumps. So I don't actually have to hit space to go to the next phase. till all this fuel runs out, and it will take a while. Yeah, the amount of fuel I've used, I'm sinking. I don't like that. So, take that back off, pull up a little bit, back on. Oh, that is horrible looking. That is there a fire? No, that's just really weird shadows. It's going up again, but I don't like the way this is pointed. I think I've probably screwed this up, but it's okay. I'm pretty new. This Let's Play is the first time that I've actually tried to do something with this series instead of just goofing around, so I'm not too incredibly surprised I'm not actually doing things. There's the moon. That's what we ideally would like to go to, but there's no way that's going to happen this episode. It's going to take me a couple of episodes. Yeah. I'll probably actually wind up getting the product key to that game before we wind up going there. There's so many new pieces in the actual paid version. Even just in the most recent update they've done to the paid version, like you can get out of the ship now if you manage to land somewhere, which, you know, that doesn't help me actually land on the moon. It just sort of gives me incentive. What are we doing for fuel? Okay, so we've run out of the first triplet of fuel, and we're almost running out of the next. Since it's pulling from 3 tanks and it's only 1 rocket engine, it's pulling very, very slowly. But once these 3 run out, it'll go down to pulling from just 1 tank, and it will go about 3 times as fast. So, yeah, me trying to head towards the horizon actually kind of hurt us. Well, no, I don't think that we're actually gonna make an orbit. We needed to be pointed more. We needed to not go up as much. We needed to go out more, but somehow I failed at doing that, so we're not gonna. Get ready to detach. And now I'm just floating. And I'm gonna crash land again. But let's see if we can. Okay, let's see if we can crash land with the parachute. Maybe I should deploy before 10,000. I don't know why I keep thinking 10,000, but it obviously didn't work last time. It didn't slow us down enough. Oh, wow. We were falling super fast. I meant to deploy at 20,000 that time, and 20,000 just went past, and it was at 10,000 by the time I noticed. Holy crap. So come on, do your bigger deploy. This will be the last run looking at the time here. Bigger deploy. We're at 16. Okay. I've seen us survive a fall this slow, but we are going to hit land instead of water. I'm guessing we're going to die. Yep. I have survived. I promise you I have. So, next episode, what are we going to do? I'm going to look up how to do the stable orbit thing. I've done it by accident before, and so in my own personal plays, I've stopped really trying to do the stable orbits, but I've never done it on purpose before, and I think it will probably teach me some very important things. So that's what we'll do next. We'll try and purposefully go and do an orbit around Kerbal. It's not Earth, it's called Kerbal, but that's unimportant really. And episode after we manage an orbit, which is hopefully next episode, then we'll try and get to the moon. It's very ambitious, but I mean, honestly, I picked up this game pretty quickly, at least compared to a few other YouTubers who I don't actually want to name, but some of them it took forever to learn just the basics. So, yeah, maybe I can do it in 2 episodes. Maybe. We'll see next time. See you then.